The AI boom has given rise to a new class of companies called inference providers. As AI applications rely on models and on compute, inference providers are becoming more and more important to the story. One big fish in that arena is Baseten, a company that was last valued at $2.15 billion last year. I want to bring on co founder and CEO of Baseten, Tuhin Srivastava, to talk about the future of his business. Tuhin, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hi, gosh, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us. I'm excited for the conversation here. Uh, so look, I just want to make this clear. So you are not a cloud provider, and you're not building the models. You connect the two. Is that right?
That's right. We sit on top of it. So like our the way that we think about the world is that there's gonna be a lot of models in the world. They're all gonna need to run somewhere. And they're gonna need some specialized software to be able to run in production. So, we're kind of that middleware that sits between, all these different clouds that we work with. Today we sit on around 10 different clouds, and the folks building models. And today we power some of the fastest growing companies in the world. Think about like a Bridge, Open Evidence, Clay, Cursor. They all run production workloads with base 10. And yeah, that's exactly where we stand
And,
as you.
and so help me understand this. I mean, if I am building an AI
Yeah.
application and I want access to models, I mean, one way to do it is I could just go straight to the companies like OpenAI or Anthropic, and I
Yeah.
could say, "Hey, I'm just going to use your API and get access to the models that way." But the other way to do it is you go through, you guys. The third way, and I'm just trying to understand where how you
Yeah.
differentiate yourself here. The third way is I could just go to the cloud providers and they give me access to all these models as well, right?
Yeah, so look, the way I think about it is we actually work with a special class of models which are open source and custom models. So a lot of customers are using OpenAI and Anthropic, and then they find some specialized use case or they want to use an open source model and they need to be able to run those models. So they've got three choices really. You can go to a cloud provider, you can build it yourself, or you can go to an inference provider like Base 10. What we try to provide is all that abstraction you need to be able to run this in production at scale, that's performant, so that's very fast, that's scalable. So, as you scale your traffic, up 10x, 100x, 1000x, it kind of scales with you. And then we give you a great developer experience so you can do that. And yes, the clouds do provide that. They're our partners too, but we're trying to make something a bit more specialized, a bit more user friendly, and a bit more fast and scalable.
But these are all open source models. All these inference
They're
providers.
open source or they're fine-tuned or RL models is how I describe it. So it's like, models that you are taking off the shelf or models you are customizing to your use case. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
And then what is the business model for Base 10? How do you make money?
Yeah, so we basically make money based on usage. So like the more you use these models, the more revenue we make, and ideally the more our customers make too. And so we're very very aligned with how our customers make money.
You bought this company Parsed last month.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's Parsed or Parsed, but
yeah.
it was a company you bought. We reported it in the information. Why did you decide to do that acquisition?
Yeah, so look, what we think is that the future is, not just gonna be closed models, it's gonna be open source models and custom models. And PAST is a reinforcement learning um, company that basically allows companies to bring their own data, take some base models, and come up with a custom model that is, better and faster for their particular use case for those customers. So we think that is very much the future of where these models are going. And, the past team, they're a small team based out of the UK and San Francisco. They were a customer of ours. And we saw a massive synergy in terms of enabling customers to be able to bring inference workloads to base 10.
As you think about the work that needs to be done in AI now, the thing that stands out to me is that we all got exposed to AI through ChatGPT and through these chat interfaces. Then AI generated images came along that turned into audio, which turned into video. Now you have the models that eventually will have to power robots and the physical world as well. But
Yeah.
uh, the thing that I am hoping you can help me understand here is when we think about inference, is inference the same across all of those applications, or I might it be that video, for example, requires more inference? Is it a different type of inference? Explain
Yeah.
that to us.
Yeah, so it's all somewhat dependent on the architectures of the models and where they need to run. And so all the architectures of the model um, are slightly different. So, for example, video models are predominantly built on diffusion transformers, which are a bit more compute intensive than transformers today. So they need different frameworks and different runtimes. When you talk about robots, a lot of those need to run on edge. So what that means is like, running on the robot itself. And so again, that's very different than a cloud inference service. We are very, very focused on cloud inference and to abstract away from any modality. So, we work with audio workloads, we work with image workloads, video workloads, language workloads, VLMs now. And so, we're kind of agnostic to that, but they all require slightly different, I'd say, software and runtimes to make them work, efficiently, reliably, performantly for the end customer.
But I'm curious, looking at this space maybe 2, 3 years from now, do
Yeah.
you see there being sort of a segmentation maybe Base 10 is the inference provider for a specific type of application or a specific type of content that needs to be generated?
Yeah. Yeah, I hate it.
Might that be the way it plays out?
It could be like, look, I'd love for that to be the way it plays out. That I mean, that's very self-serving of me. I think inference is a broad category. Inference is a very large market. As you've heard, how many CEOs have you now heard say inference is the largest market? And so, I do think there.
How many CEOs have I heard? I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Jensen said it. I think Satya said
Jensen
it.
said, okay.
I think Satya said it too. Um, but the point being that you know, it is a big enough market that there will be specialized use cases of inference. We want to power as many of them as possible. Today, we are very, very focused on real time production inference, kind of abstract, regardless of modality. That might change over time, but we just think it's a massive market, a massive opportunity. And yes, there will be specialized players, but there is a big place for a general purpose platform for inference.
Do you guys buy your own chips?
No, we don't. So we work with 10 clouds kind of underneath the hood. So, and we provide one of the core insights here, I think, in starting base 10 is that inference is a multi-cloud problem. You need resiliency for outages on clouds. And so, our customers are able to benefit from that resiliency because we kind of sit on top of 10 different clouds.
The reason I'm asking is because one of the questions I wanted to ask you is about these newer chips that are coming out. We just saw earlier this month, NVIDIA unveiled more details about its Rubin family of chips. And I've been thinking about the switching costs that customers may undergo when going from one chip to another, let alone within one company. I mean, if you want to switch from NVIDIA to another chip, that's another switching cost.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is it to upgrade a chip, to switch out a chip? Are customers having any difficulty with it, from
Well,
what you're hearing?
well, ideally, your inference provider can help you with things like that. What we
Okay,
try
so
and like, when you go from one NVIDIA family to another NVIDIA family, so from Hopper to Blackwell, say now you go to Rubin, we are doing a lot of that legwork to make sure these models can run very well on those new chips. And so, yes, it is challenging, and yes, there are issues that come up with that. But also, that is why the specialized software layer for inference exists.
what
To
what are some of the challenges there, switching?
Look, they just have different, they have the different it's different hardware, and like some of these models are very, very finicky, and getting them running with the right throughput and optimized for that chip type, so you're taking advantage of that hardware, is challenging, and we've seen that with every kind of family where a chip comes out and it takes maybe a month, 2 months, 6 months at times to basically get that chip dialed in for a workload.
Great. Well, Tuhin, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. It was a great conversation. That is Tuhin Srivastava, the co-founder and CEO of Base 10 here on TI TV.